Thank you, and just thank you to the Cycling Campaign for organising the only in-person open hustings in the borough, and it's a great tradition that you've had before. And I think we've come a long way together as civic society in Hackney since I was first elected in 2016. And you have taught me a lot about active travel and what it means to deliver a more sustainable and climate-friendly borough. Before I was mayor, I didn't regularly cycle. I didn't own a bike. Hackney has made me a cyclist because of the quality of its infrastructure and the passion for active travel, and it has transformed the way I get around the borough. It's made me fitter, perhaps not as fit as Zoe, somewhere between Helen and Zoe perhaps. But I've always been multimodal. You know, when I moved to the borough, it was walking and buses. When the overground came, and the first thing I did when I was 18 was get a driving licence. I'm one of that generation, that's what I did. So I'm also a car driver, and over the Easter weekend I hired a car and I drove around the borough, I have to admit. So I know that you cannot survive by one mode alone, and as mayor I hope I have delivered on the campaign and the work that we have done together. And I think anyone that walked or cycled here tonight will have seen better infrastructure over the last 5 years of my leadership in Hackney, whether it's Church Street, Green Lanes, some of the LTMs near here, the fantastic opening of the reservoirs and the wider work around Woodbury Down and making it a people-friendly place. When I was first elected in 2018, I stood on a very ambitious manifesto co-produced with residents and activists. We set out a clear plan for tackling climate crisis, pollution, transitioning to renewable energy, increasing cycling and encouraging walking and cycling. And I was very pleased to be elected on that manifesto, and we got cracking straight away. So I think about some of the pledges that 4 years ago in a room like this we were talking about. It was around parklets, it was around expanding the school streets programme, it was the work around ultra-low emission streets in Shoreditch, campaigning for the expansion of ULEZ. Mixing walking and cycling in everything that we talked about, so an inclusive conference which we have rebranded since that meeting, expanding cycle storage, improving CS1, more protected cycling, and having what was the annual sustainability day and is more moving towards the Citizens Assembly model. I also talked about being a child-friendly borough, redesigning our environment around young people and the most vulnerable, and also pledged 1,000 street trees. I'm very proud on my bike helmet to have Extinction Rebellion stickers, and that has been something that I've been attacked for, praised for in equal measure. But let's think back to that moment in 2019 and why we needed climate activists. Because for all of the things that I stood on and won on in 2018, we were not shifting the dial fast and far enough around the climate emergency. And I think that wake-up call that we have, the activation of civic society, more people joining campaigning organisations in Hackney and beyond, moving forward to becoming a borough that passed the climate emergency motion and then put that into action, was critically important for us. And I think on everything that we have done since, you'll see that energy of that 2019 moment. We also had 2020 with the pandemic, which presented a vision of what our borough could look like if it was not car dominated. And I think others have talked about, and it's no surprise to me that there were more parking permits taken out in London Fields during that pandemic period, because there's been a movement back to the car. And resetting that was really, really important to me. Unfortunately, the way the government funded the expansion of active travel meant that there was not the opportunities to co-produce in the way that I think most people in this room would want to see. But there was no panacea to community engagement around very controversial issues. And I think it was right to do the consultation and implementation in 2020 that we did. We can move on to some of the reasons of things we may have got wrong perhaps later. But you know, traffic had already risen on our residential roads 64%, all the things that Will and John have introduced us to. And Hackney is a place where most people do not go about their daily lives using a car. And I think investing in more implementation to avoid that car-led recovery was exactly the right thing to do. So I'm really proud of the LTMs in Hoxton West, London Fields, Stoke Newington, South Hackney, Clapton, Homerton, Springfield and Hackney Downs. They are absolutely transformed and they really brought to life those quiet ways, which we talked about as well 4 years ago. We've also taken the lessons of the now way in pedestrianisation and something that was going to be deeply controversial, pedestrianisation of Broadway, way now feels like it was always like that if you visit it. Businesses and residents and visitors are wholeheartedly behind it. Stonington Church Street, another opportunity to really transform what our town centres are like and what it's for. Pedestrian footfall up 8% already. I'm sure we'll see that increase. We've also invested in those protected cycling lanes and green lanes, Queensbridge and Wick Road, and we've not forgotten public transport. So whether it's fighting bus cuts imposed because of the Tory funding settlements on TfL, whether it's been investing directly ourselves in the overground at Hackney Central and Hackney Wick, or fighting for more accessible stations, which we will get at Hackney Downs, and we'll hopefully see Stamford Hill and Dalston before now. Again, all of that action. So we are committed to continuing the work, all of the 5 pledges, and building on our track record. And just to say that track record, things that I talked about that are now normalised, 48 school streets, not the 12 additional ones that I originally promised. More cycle hangers than any other London borough, huge waiting list, absolutely get that, and we must do more. But there are more cycle hangers on street on Brighton Road in Hackney than in Green Run, Brighton. That is a difference a Labour council can make. EV infrastructure, 300 delivered, a plan by 2026 to 1,500, 3,000 by 2030. That is enough to deal with that just transition around how we want to see our private motor transport. I could go on. I've probably used up my 45 minutes. I'll just finish on the point that for us, the Green New Deal that we outline in the manifesto, copies available at the front, is £50 million worth of investment across all of the climate and energy efficiency responses, not just transport, and a real link to green infrastructure, to social justice, to growing our green economy, creating more jobs and opportunities for Hackney residents, transforming our streets, estates and town centres, and I look forward to working with you and Hackney residents to deliver it. Thank you.